The large meeting hall fell silent as the 7 council members entered. Each alien looked different from the others, some tall with multiple limbs, others short with scales or fur. They sat at the high table, looking down at the human delegation. Captain James Miller stood straight in his formal blue uniform. This was a big day for Earth. After 50 years of knowing about aliens, humans were finally joining the Galactic Council. "The Council recognizes Earth," said the head council member, a tall being with blue skin named Trell. "We welcome humans to our community of species." Miller nodded. "Thank you. Earth is honored to join." Trell looked at some notes. "However, we must address a serious matter. Our studies show humans are prone to violence. Your history is filled with wars." Miller started to object, but the alien raised a hand. "This is not a judgment, merely a fact. All new species must be classified for safety. Humans are classified as a violence-prone species with Level 3 restrictions." Another council member, a small green being, pushed forward a document. "These restrictions mean humans may build and operate civilian vessels only. No warships of any kind for the next 100 years. Miller's face showed his surprise. "No warships? What about defense?" "The Council provides defense for all member worlds," Trell said. "This is standard for new members with your classification." Later, back on Earth, Miller sat in a large office with General Banks, his superior. "This is ridiculous," Banks said, his face red with anger. "No warships for a century. What if we need to defend ourselves?" Miller sighed. The Council was clear. "We accept their rules or we don't join. And not joining means no access to faster-than-light travel, no trade with other worlds, and no protection." Banks looked out the window at the night sky. "At least they're letting us continue with the Horizon project." The Horizon was Earth's first major deep space vessel. Originally designed as a military ship, it would now be converted to a civilian mining and exploration vessel. "Yes," Miller said, "and they want me to captain it." Banks turned, surprised. "You? But you're a military strategist, not an explorer." Miller shrugged. "I think that's why they chose me. They want someone who understands both worlds." 3 months later, Miller walked through the Horizon's corridors. The ship was huge, nearly a mile long and shaped like an arrow. It was being built in Earth's orbit, with thousands of workers finishing its systems. Miller entered the engineering section and found Tom Reed, the chief engineer. Reed was a short man with messy hair and a constant smile. He was looking at plans on a large screen. "How's it going, Tom?" Miller asked. Reed jumped slightly, then relaxed. "Captain, just making some final adjustments." Miller looked at the plans. They showed what looked like extra power couplings running to the mining lasers. "What's this?" These weren't in the original design. Reed's smile grew wider. "Just some efficiency improvements. The mining lasers need more power to cut through harder asteroids." He paused. "Of course, with these modifications, they could also cut through ship hulls if needed." Miller raised an eyebrow. "Tom, you know we can't have weapons. The Council will inspect everything." "These aren't weapons, Captain," Reed said innocently. "They're mining tools. Not my fault if they happen to be useful for other things in an emergency." Miller should have reported this, but instead he found himself nodding slowly. "What else have you improved?" Over the next hour, Reed showed Miller several modifications that skirted Council regulations. The cargo grapples were now strong enough to hold a small ship. The sensors, meant for finding minerals, could detect ship weak points. The shields, designed for protection against asteroids, were stronger than needed. "None of these are weapons," Reed explained. "They're all legitimate systems for a mining vessel. Just better than they need to be." Miller was impressed. "Keep this quiet. If the Council finds out." "They won't," Reed promised. "Everything looks normal on paper." A week before launch, Inspector Dax arrived. He was a tall, thin alien with gray skin and 4 eyes. His species was known for their attention to detail. "Captain Miller," Dax said formally, I am here to ensure your vessel complies with Council regulations. Miller nodded. Of course, we're happy to show you everything. For 3 days, Dax inspected every part of the horizon. He checked systems, reviewed plans, and questioned crew members. Miller grew more nervous with each passing hour. On the final day, Dax entered the engineering section while Reed was working on the mining lasers. These power readings seem high for mining equipment, Dax noted, checking his device. Reed didn't look up. Earth minerals are harder than most. We need the extra power. Dax stared at Reed for a long moment. I see. And these grapples, they appear stronger than necessary. Safety precaution, Reed said quickly. Better too strong than too weak when handling heavy asteroids. Dax made notes on his device. Miller held his breath, waiting for the inspector to demand a closer look or call for backup. Instead, Dax simply nodded. Logical, though unusual. At the end of the inspection, Dax met with Miller in the captain's office. Your ship passes inspection, Captain, Dax said, though I must note several unusual design choices. Miller tried to look casual. Earth is new to deep space. We're being cautious. Dax's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. Indeed. Remember, Captain, this vessel is authorized for mining and exploration only. Any use in conflict would violate your species' restrictions. Of course, Miller said. The Horizon is a peaceful vessel. After Dax left, Miller sat back in his chair and let out a long breath. They had passed the inspection. In 2 days, the Horizon would launch with its 200 crew members on a 2-year mission to explore and mine the frontier regions. What the Council didn't know wouldn't hurt them. And if trouble ever found the Horizon out in deep space, well, they'd be ready. As Miller looked out his viewport at the stars, he couldn't help but smile. Humans weren't allowed to build warships, but nobody said they couldn't build a mining vessel capable of defending itself. The real test would come when they reached the frontier. 6 months into their mission, the Horizon had settled into a comfortable routine. The huge ship moved from asteroid field to asteroid field, mining valuable metals and minerals. Captain Miller had almost forgotten about the special features Engineer Reed had built into the ship. Miller sat in his command chair on the bridge, looking at reports. The crew had mined enough rare metals to make their mission profitable already. Earth would be pleased. Captain, called Lisa, the communications officer. I'm picking up something strange. Miller looked up. What is it? A distress signal, sir, from New Haven Colony. New Haven was a small human settlement on a planet near the edge of Council space. About 5,000 people lived there, farming and mining. Put it on speaker, Miller ordered. A scratchy voice filled the bridge. This is New Haven Colony calling any ships. We are under attack. Unknown vessels in orbit. They're landing troops. Please help. The Council fleet is too far away. Anyone, please. The message cut off. The bridge was silent. How far are we from New Haven? Miller asked. 2 days at top speed, sir, replied Mark, the navigator. Miller thought about his orders. They were supposed to avoid any conflict zones. The Council had been clear that human ships were not to engage in combat situations. The proper course would be to report the distress call and continue their mission. But 5,000 people were in danger. Set course for New Haven. Maximum speed, Miller ordered. Mark nodded, already entering the coordinates. Sir, said Lisa, should I inform Earth about our course change? Miller hesitated. Send a message, but use the delay protocol. It will take 3 days to reach Earth. By then, we'll already be at New Haven. Yes, sir. As the Horizon changed direction, Miller called Reed to his office. Tom, remember those special modifications you made to our ship? Miller asked when the engineer arrived. Reed grinned. The ones we never talk about. Sure. How quickly can you get them ready for use? Reed's smile disappeared. You're serious. What's happening? Miller explained about New Haven. We might be heading into a fight. Reed nodded slowly. 2 days should be enough time. But, Captain, if we use these systems in combat, the Council will know we broke their rules. I know, Miller said, but I won't leave those colonists to die. Get everything ready, but quietly. Don't tell the crew what's happening yet. For 2 days, Reed and his trusted engineers worked around the clock, preparing the Horizon's hidden capabilities. The mining lasers were recalibrated. The shields were strengthened. The sensors were adjusted to track ships instead of asteroids. As they approached New Haven, Miller called the senior crew together. "We're responding to a distress call," he told them. "There may be danger ahead. I need to know you're all with me." "What kind of danger?" asked Dr. Bell, the chief medical officer. "We're not a military vessel." "Unknown ships attacking the colony," Miller said. "And you're right, we're not military, but we're all those colonists have." The crew looked at each other nervously. "We have some advantages they don't know about," Miller added. "But I won't force anyone to risk their lives. If you want to stay out of this, I understand." There was a moment of silence. Then Mark, the navigator, spoke up. "My brother lives on New Haven with his family. I'm in." One by one, the others nodded their agreement. "Good," Miller said. "Now let me explain what Engineer Reed has been working on." The Horizon dropped out of faster-than-light travel near New Haven. The view screen showed the green and blue planet below. It also showed 3 dark ships in orbit. "Scan those vessels," Miller ordered. Lisa worked her console. "They're not in the Council database, sir. Unknown design." "The Scourge," said an older crew member named Pete. "I've heard stories. They attack frontier worlds, take what they want, and leave nothing behind." Miller frowned. "The Council knows about these attacks." "Rumors, mostly," Pete said. "The Scourge stay away from well-defended worlds. The Council doesn't consider them a major threat." "Well, they're a threat to New Haven," Miller said. He turned to Reed. "Status of our systems. Mining lasers ready for alternative use," Reed reported with a small smile. "Shields at full power. Cargo grapples standing by." "Good. Lisa, any response from the colony?" "Yes, sir. They say the Scourge have landed troops near the main settlement. They're holding out in the colony center, but won't last long." Miller took a deep breath. This was it. Once they engaged, there was no going back. The Council would know humans had broken their rules. "Take us into orbit," he ordered. "Position us between those ships and the colony." The Horizon moved forward slowly. Its huge bulk dwarfed the Scourge vessels, which were about a quarter of its size. "Sir, they're hailing us," Lisa said. "Put them through." The view screen changed to show an alien face. It had gray skin covered in small spikes and yellow eyes. "Human vessel," the alien said in rough translation. "Leave now. This is not your concern." Miller stood up straight. "I'm Captain James Miller of the Earth ship Horizon. You're attacking the human colony. That makes it my concern." The alien made a harsh sound that might have been laughter. "You have no weapons, human. The Council does not allow it. Leave now or be destroyed." Miller smiled. "You might be surprised what a mining vessel can do. This is your only warning. Leave New Haven in peace or face the consequences." The alien cut the transmission. "They're powering weapons," Lisa reported. "All crew to battle stations," Miller ordered. "Let's show them what humans can do even without warships." The smallest Scourge ship fired first. A beam of energy shot toward the Horizon. "Shields holding," Reed called out. "Their weapons aren't as strong as I expected." "Target their weapons systems with the mining lasers," Miller ordered. Reed adjusted his controls. "Firing now." The powerful lasers, designed to cut through solid asteroid rock, sliced into the Scourge ship's hull like it was paper. The enemy vessel's weapons went dark. "Direct hit," Reed shouted, surprised by his own success. The other 2 Scourge ships began to move, turning to face the Horizon. "They didn't expect resistance," Miller said. "Use the grapples on the damaged ship. pull it out of the fight. The massive cargo grapples, designed to hold asteroids weighing thousands of tons, shot out and latched onto the wounded Scourge vessel. With a powerful tug, the Horizon pulled it away from its companions. The battle had begun, and the supposedly defenseless human mining ship was winning. The bridge of the Horizon shook as another blast from the Scourge ships hit their shields. Captain Miller held onto his chair to stay upright. "Shield status," he called out. Reed checked his screen. "Holding at 60%, Captain." These mining shields weren't really made for this kind of fight. The Horizon had managed to disable one Scourge ship with their mining lasers and grapples, but the other two were proving more difficult. They had spread out, making it hard for the Horizon to target both at once. "They're learning our tricks," Miller said. "We need something new." Lisa called from her station. "Captain, the colony is reporting that the Scourge ground forces are retreating to their ships. They didn't expect resistance in orbit." Miller nodded. That was good news, but they still had two enemy ships to deal with. "Reed, what else do we have?" Reed thought for a moment. "The mineral detection system. It's designed to find specific elements in asteroids by analyzing their composition." "How does that help us fight ships?" Miller asked. "Every ship has weak points," Reed explained. "Places where the hull is thinner or where important systems are located. If I recalibrate the sensors, we could find those weak points." "Do it," Miller ordered. Reed bent over his console, fingers flying across the controls. "Got it. Sending the data to the weapons station now." Mark, who was handling the weapons, nodded. "I see it. There's a spot near their engines that looks vulnerable." "Target that spot with the mining lasers," Miller ordered. The Horizon's lasers fired, striking the exact point Mark had identified. The effect was immediate. The Scourge ship's engines sputtered and died, leaving it drifting in space. "Direct hit," Mark shouted. "They're disabled." Miller allowed himself a small smile. "One more to go. Same trick." Reed shook his head. "They're changing their shield frequency. The sensors can't get a good reading anymore." The last Scourge ship was circling the Horizon, firing at different points, testing their defenses. "What about the ore separator?" Miller asked suddenly. Reed looked confused. "The what?" "The magnetic ore separator. It pulls metal-rich ore away from worthless rock, right? Could we use it against their ship?" Reed's eyes widened. "That's actually brilliant, Captain. It's not designed for that, but the principles are the same. Their hull is metal. If we turn up the power high enough." "Do it," Miller ordered. Reed hurried to adjust the controls. "This will drain a lot of power from our systems. Shields will weaken." "It's a risk we have to take," Miller said. "On my mark." The Scourge ship came around for another attack run. "Now," Miller shouted. Reed activated the ore separator at maximum power. A powerful magnetic field shot out from the Horizon, invisible but incredibly strong. The effect on the Scourge ship was dramatic. It shuddered in space as the magnetic forces pulled on its hull, bending metal and disrupting its systems. "It's working," Reed called out. "Their weapons are offline." The Scourge ship tried to move away, but the magnetic field held it in place. "They're hailing us," Lisa said. "Put them through," Miller ordered. The alien commander appeared on screen again, but now his spiky face showed fear instead of confidence. "Stop," the alien demanded. "You are destroying our ship." "Withdraw your forces from New Haven," Miller said firmly. "Leave this system and never return." The alien hesitated, then nodded. "We agree. Release our ships." Miller looked at Reed, who shrugged. "We can't hold them forever anyway. The system will burn out soon." "Very well," Miller said to the alien. "We'll release you. But remember this, human colonies are not easy targets, even without warships." The alien's yellow eyes narrowed. "The Council will hear of this, human. You have broken their rules." "We've defended innocent lives," Miller replied. "That's all that matters." After the Scourge ships limped away, the Horizon moved into position above New Haven's main settlement. Miller led a team down to the surface to check on the colonists. The settlement had some damage from the Scourge attack, but most buildings were still standing. The colonists had fought bravely, using farm equipment and mining tools as weapons. Just like us, Reed said with a smile as they walked through the settlement. Making do with what we have. The colony leader, a tall woman named Anna, greeted them warmly. Captain Miller, you saved our lives. The Scourge would have killed us all if you hadn't come. We did what anyone would do, Miller said. Anna shook her head. No, you did what humans do. You found a way to win even when the rules were against you. The colonists provided a meal for the Horizon's crew, sharing what food they had in thanks. As they ate, Miller noticed Reed deep in thought. What's on your mind, Tom? He asked. Reed looked up. I was just thinking. We could improve the ship even more. The ore separator worked better than I expected. With some adjustments, we could make it a real weapon. And the mineral scanners could be fine-tuned to detect ship weaknesses even better, Mark added. Miller nodded slowly. Do it. We don't know when we might face the Scourge again. Over the next few days, the Horizon's crew helped the colonists repair their settlement. At the same time, Reed and his engineers worked to improve their ship's mining equipment even further. The colonists are calling us heroes, Lisa told Miller as they prepared to leave New Haven. Word is spreading to other human settlements. Miller frowned. That means word will reach the council soon. Are you worried? Lisa asked. About breaking their rules? No, Miller said. About what comes next? Yes. As the Horizon lifted off from New Haven, a message came in from Earth. Miller read it in his office, his face growing more serious with each word. The message was clear. The council had learned about the battle at New Haven. They were sending representatives to investigate. Miller and his crew would face questions about their actions. But there was more. Reports indicated that the Scourge, embarrassed by their defeat, were planning a much larger attack on the frontier worlds. The Council's defense fleet was occupied with a diplomatic crisis in another sector and couldn't respond in time. Earth was asking all human ships in the region to prepare for possible conflict, regardless of Council restrictions. Miller set the message down and looked out his viewport at the stars. They had won one battle by being clever and adapting mining equipment for defense, but a larger fight was coming. The question was, would the Council punish humans for defending themselves, or would they recognize that sometimes rules needed to bend in the face of danger? Miller suspected he would find out very soon. The Horizon docked at Space Station Alpha, a large Council facility near Earth. Captain Miller and his senior crew stood at attention as 3 Council representatives boarded their ship. Miller recognized the tall, blue-skinned Trell, who had first told humans they couldn't build warships. With him was Inspector Dax, who had checked the Horizon before its launch. The third was new to Miller, a small purple alien with 6 arms and large eyes. Captain Miller, Trell said coldly, you have violated Council restrictions. Miller kept his face calm. We responded to a distress call. We saved lives. Using systems that were clearly designed for combat, Inspector Dax added. Systems, I was assured, were for mining only. The purple alien stepped forward. I am Vex, Council's security analyst. I wish to see these mining systems that defeated 3 Scourge vessels. Miller looked at Reed, who nodded. Engineer Reed will show you everything. As Reed led Vex away, Trell turned to Miller. The Council is very displeased. You were explicitly forbidden from engaging in combat. And what about the Scourge? Miller asked. They attacked a human colony. Where was the Council fleet? Trell shifted uncomfortably. There was a diplomatic situation in the Centauri sector. Our ships were needed there. So you left our colonies defenseless, Miller said. The Scourge were not considered a major threat, Trell replied. Tell that to the people of New Haven, Miller said sharply. They would have been killed if we hadn't helped. Before Trell could respond, a message came through on the station's communication system. All three aliens listened, their faces growing concerned. The Scourge have launched attacks on 5 frontier worlds, Trell said, turning back to Miller, including 3 non-human colonies. Miller nodded. He had expected this. The Scourge were angry after being defeated by the Horizon. Now they were trying to prove their strength. Our fleet cannot reach all these worlds in time, Trell admitted quietly. We can help, Miller offered. The Horizon can defend at least one of those worlds. One ship cannot change the outcome, Dax said. Miller smiled slightly. We're not the only human ship with mining equipment. Meanwhile, Reed was showing Vex the Horizon systems. The alien security analyst examined everything with great interest, especially the mining lasers and the ore separator. Fascinating, Vex said, looking at the lasers. These are genuinely designed for cutting asteroids. Of course, Reed said. That's their purpose. Yet, with minor adjustments, they become effective weapons, Vex noted. Reed shrugged. Any tool can be used in different ways. Vex moved to the ore separator. This magnetic system, you used it to disable a Scourge ship. We increased the power to create a stronger magnetic field, Reed explained. It disrupted their systems and stressed their hull. But it was built as mining equipment. Yes, it separates metal-rich ore from worthless rock. Standard mining technology. Vex was quiet for a moment, his large eyes blinking rapidly. You humans are most interesting. You found a way around our restrictions without actually breaking them. Reed wasn't sure how to respond to that. Tell me, Engineer Reed, Vex continued, could other human ships use these same adaptations? Any mining vessel with similar equipment could do what we did, Reed said cautiously. Vex made a sound that might have been a laugh. I think I understand why some council members were so concerned about humans. In the station's conference room, the council representatives met with Miller and several officials from Earth. The mood was tense. We have reviewed the situation, Trell announced. The Horizon did use systems that could be classified as weapons. General Banks, who had traveled from Earth for this meeting, stood up angrily. They used mining equipment to defend a colony that you failed to protect. However, Trell continued, ignoring the interruption. Security analyst Vex has made an interesting point. Vex stepped forward. The humans have found what we might call a creative interpretation of our restrictions. Technically, they have not built warships. They have simply optimized civilian vessels. Inspector Dax didn't look happy. This is a dangerous precedent. Other species might follow their example. Perhaps, Vex agreed. But right now, we face a more immediate problem. The Scourge attacks are spreading. Our fleet cannot respond to all of them. Everyone in the room knew what Vex was suggesting. Trell looked uncomfortable, but finally nodded. The Council requests Earth's assistance in defending the frontier worlds, he said formally. Your mining vessels may be our best hope. Miller couldn't help smiling. How many ships do you need? General Banks answered. We have 20 vessels similar to the Horizon, all with the same mining equipment. They could be ready within days. Trell's blue skin darkened, a sign of surprise. 20. How is that possible? We started building them after the Horizon success at New Haven, Banks explained. Standard mining vessels. Of course. Miller watched as the council representatives exchanged looks. They were just realizing how quickly humans had adapted to their restrictions. Very well, Trell said finally. Your ships may assist in the defense of the frontier, but this matter is not closed. The council will need to discuss the spirit of our restrictions versus the letter of our law. As the meeting ended, Vex approached Miller in the corridor. Captain Miller, I must say I find human ingenuity impressive, the alien said quietly. You have accomplished something remarkable. We just did what was necessary, Miller replied. No, Vex said. You did more than that. You showed the council something important about rules and restrictions. What's that? That they often breed innovation rather than compliance. Vex's large eyes seemed to smile. Some of us on the council have argued that humans should not be restricted so heavily. Your actions may help change minds. Before Miller could respond, alarms sounded throughout the station. A communication officer ran up to them. "Sir, reports coming in. The Scourge fleet has been spotted near the Altair system. They have over 30 ships." Miller turned to Vex. "That's more than we can handle, even with 20 ships." Vex nodded. "Our fleet is still 3 days away." Miller thought quickly. "We need to coordinate our response. If we can't match their numbers, we'll have to outsmart them." "What do you have in mind?" Vex asked. "A strategy that plays to our strengths," Miller said. "The Scourge expect defenseless worlds. Let's show them that humans don't need warships to win a war." As Miller rushed back to the horizon, he knew the real battle was just beginning. They had won at New Haven through surprise and creativity. But the Scourge would be ready for them now. It would take more than modified mining equipment to win this fight. It would take everything humans were good at: adaptation, innovation, and thinking differently about problems than other species did. The Council might not understand humans yet, but the Scourge were about to learn a painful lesson about underestimating them. The space near Altair Colony buzzed with activity as 20 human ships moved into defensive positions. The Horizon led the fleet, with Captain Miller coordinating from its bridge. "All ships reporting ready, Captain," Lisa said from her communication station. Miller nodded. "Put me through to all captains." When the connection was made, Miller stood tall. "This is Captain Miller. The Scourge fleet will arrive in 6 hours. They have more ships than us, but we have something better: human creativity. Each of your vessels has the same mining equipment as the Horizon. You know how to use it. Remember, we're not fighting just for human colonies. 3 non-human worlds are counting on us too." The captains' faces on the screen showed determination. They were all experienced miners and explorers, not soldiers, but they were ready to defend the frontier. "Engineer Reed has developed new tactics based on what we learned at New Haven," Miller continued. "Study them carefully. We'll form 5 groups of 4 ships each. Stay together, protect each other, and remember, we may not have warships, but we are still humans. Good luck." As the captains signed off, Vex entered the bridge. The Council security analyst had asked to join the Horizon for the battle. "Your plan is bold, Captain," Vex said, "but the Scourge have numbers on their side." "Numbers aren't everything," Miller replied. "They're used to attacking defenseless colonies. They've never faced an organized response from civilian ships." Reed joined them, holding a datapad. "The new modifications are ready for all ships. The mineral scanners are now 50% more accurate at finding ship weak points. The ore separators can create targeted magnetic fields. And the mining lasers, well, they're still technically mining lasers, but much more efficient." Miller smiled. "Good work. Now we wait." 5 hours later, the first Scourge ships appeared on their sensors. The human fleet held position, protecting the colony below. 35 Scourge vessels detected, Mark reported from his station. "They're spreading out for an attack run. They're trying to surround us," Miller noted. "Just as we expected. Signal all ships. Hold formation until my command." The Scourge ships drew closer, their weapons powering up. Then, suddenly, they launched their attack. Energy beams shot toward the human fleet from all directions. "Now," Miller ordered. The 20 human ships activated their shields, which had been specially modified by Reed's team. The shields didn't just block the Scourge weapons. They reflected the energy back at the attackers. Several Scourge ships took damage from their own weapons. "It worked," Reed exclaimed. "The energy reflection is even better than I hoped." The Scourge fleet hesitated, confused by what had happened. Miller seized the moment. "All groups, execute your assigned tactics," he ordered. The human ships split into their 5 groups, each targeting different sections of the Scourge fleet. Group 1, led by the Horizon, headed straight for the largest enemy vessels. Target their propulsion systems with the mining lasers, Miller commanded. The Horizon and its 3 partnerships fired their lasers at the exact weak points identified by their enhanced mineral scanners. The precision was perfect. 2 large Scourge ships lost engine power and drifted helplessly. Across the battlefield, the other human groups were having similar success. Group 2 used their cargo grapples to trap several smaller Scourge vessels. Group 3 created a magnetic field so strong that 5 enemy ships couldn't fire their weapons. Groups 4 and 5 protected the flanks, preventing the Scourge from surrounding them. The Scourge are falling back, Lisa reported. They're regrouping. Miller studied the tactical display. The Scourge still had more ships, but they had lost their initial advantage of surprise. They'll try a different approach, he predicted. Stay alert. He was right. The Scourge fleet formed a tight formation and charged directly at the center of the human defense. They're concentrating their firepower, Reed said worriedly. Our shields can't reflect that much energy. Miller thought quickly. All ships, activate ore separators at maximum power. Focus on their lead vessels. 20 powerful magnetic fields shot out from the human ships, all targeting the front of the Scourge formation. The effect was dramatic. The lead Scourge ships shuddered as their metal hulls were stressed beyond their limits. Systems failed, weapons shut down, and several ships began to break apart. The Scourge attack faltered. Their tight formation became confused as ships tried to avoid the magnetic fields. Now's our chance, Miller said. All groups, press the attack. Don't let them regroup. The human fleet moved forward with confidence, using their mining lasers with surgical precision. One by one, Scourge ships were disabled or destroyed. Vex watched from beside Miller, his large eyes wide with amazement. This is extraordinary. No warships, yet you're winning against superior numbers. Miller nodded. It's not about having the biggest guns. It's about using what you have creatively. After 2 more hours of fighting, the remaining Scourge ships fled the system. The human fleet had lost only 2 ships, with minimal casualties. The frontier worlds were safe. 1 month later, Captain Miller stood before the full Galactic Council. The Grand Chamber was filled with representatives from all member species. Trell presided at the center, his blue face unreadable. Captain James Miller, Trell announced. You stand before us as both rule breaker and hero. How do you answer? Miller stepped forward. I answer that humans will always defend the innocent, whether we have warships or not. We follow your restrictions to the letter, while honoring our duty to protect. Murmurs filled the chamber. Vex, now seated among the council members, nodded slightly to Miller. After much deliberation, Trell continued, the council has reached a decision. Humans have demonstrated that strict classifications can be limiting. Therefore, we are creating a new category of vessel, adaptive defense ships. These are not classed as warships, but may be equipped with defensive capabilities. The human delegation broke into smiles and quiet cheers. Furthermore, Trell added, other frontier species may now build similar vessels. The Scourge threat has shown us that distant colonies need better protection than our fleet can provide. Miller couldn't believe what he was hearing. Not only had humans avoided punishment, but they had changed council policy. Captain Miller and Engineer Reed. Trell said, you will receive the Council's Innovation Medal for your creative solutions. Your actions, while technically rule-bending, saved many lives. As the ceremony concluded, General Banks approached Miller. Congratulations, Captain. Earth is proud of you. Thank you, sir, Miller replied. What happens now? Banks smiled. The Council has approved our plans for 10 new ships, officially classified as adaptive defense vessels. You're being offered command of the fleet. Miller thought about it. I think I'll stay with the Horizon. She's a mining vessel, after all. But maybe we'll explore some more dangerous regions now. Later, As Miller and Reed walked through the council station, Vex joined them. "You humans have taught the council an important lesson," the alien said. "Sometimes restrictions breed greater innovation than freedom would." Reed laughed. "We just did what humans always do, find a way around the problem." "That," Vex said, "is exactly what some of us feared. And now respect." Miller looked out a viewport at the stars. Humans weren't allowed to build warships, but they had still found success against all odds. Not through force or by breaking rules, but by seeing possibilities where others saw only limitations. That was the real human strength, not weapons, but the ability to adapt and overcome. And now the whole galaxy knew it. The massive control room of the Concordat flagship Imperial Dawn buzzed with activity. Hundreds of officers from various species worked at their stations, their 6 eyes, tentacles, or clawed hands moving across holographic displays. At the center of it all, Admiral Voss stood with his 4 arms crossed behind his back, staring at the main view screen. "Sir, we're picking up an unknown vessel entering Sector 7, reported Officer Dax, his green skin glowing slightly in the dim light. Admiral Voss waved one of his hands dismissively. "Probably just another trading ship from the Outer Rim. Follow standard protocol." "But sir," Dax continued, "this ship doesn't match any known design in our database, and the energy readings are unusual." This caught the Admiral's attention. The Galactic Concordat had ruled over 300 star systems for nearly 1,000 years. There were no unknown ships in their territory. Every vessel, from every one of the 15 spacefaring species in the galaxy, was cataloged and tracked. "Show me," Voss ordered. The main screen changed to display a sleek, almost simplistic vessel. It had none of the ornate designs of Concordat ships or the biological curves of the Rim species. Instead, it looked functional, almost crude, with visible thrusters and what appeared to be primitive weapon systems. "What species built this?" Voss asked, genuinely puzzled. Intelligence Officer Kell stepped forward. She was small compared to most officers, with dark blue skin and large eyes that missed nothing. "According to preliminary scans, the life forms aboard appear to be human," she said, checking her datapad. A murmur spread across the control room. Humans were a known but insignificant species. They had been discovered 50 years ago, confined to a single planet called Earth in a remote system. The Concordat had deemed them too primitive for formal contact. They hadn't even achieved proper space travel beyond their own moon. "Impossible," said Voss. "Humans don't have this technology. They barely have fusion power. Yet the evidence suggests otherwise, Admiral," Kell replied. "And there's more. The ship's power readings are off the charts, despite its simple appearance. And our scanners can't penetrate its hull to get a clear reading of what's inside." Admiral Voss frowned. The Concordat's scanning technology was the most advanced in the galaxy. Nothing could block it. He studied the vessel again, noting its clean lines and the absence of the usual energy signatures associated with faster-than-light travel. "Hail them," he ordered. Moments later, the screen changed to show the interior of the human vessel. The bridge was surprisingly spacious but utilitarian. And there, sitting in what appeared to be the captain's chair, was a human male with short gray hair and a weathered face. "This is Captain James Reynolds of the Earth Ship Defiance," the human said in a calm voice. "We come in peace and request permission to establish diplomatic relations with the Galactic Concordat." Admiral Voss studied the human with growing unease. How did they know about the Concordat? How had they built a ship capable of interstellar travel? And why did they appear so confident? "This is Admiral Voss of the Concordat flagship Imperial Dawn. You have entered restricted space without authorization. Explain your presence here immediately." Captain Reynolds smiled. It was not a submissive smile, but one of amusement. "We've been watching your civilization for some time, Admiral. We believe it's time for our species to formally meet." Voss felt a chill run down his spine. "Watching us? Impossible. Your species has been under observation since discovery. You have no technology capable of. With respect, Admiral, Reynolds interrupted, you may have been observing a small colony we established as a decoy. Earth and human space are quite different from what you believe. The control room fell silent. Officer Kell quickly tapped on her pad and whispered to the Admiral, Sir, our records show no evidence of advanced human technology or space travel capability. Voss cleared his throat. Captain Reynolds, if what you say is true, why reveal yourselves now? Expansion, Admiral. Humanity is growing. We need more room, more resources. We'd prefer to do this peacefully, as neighbors rather than strangers. Ambassador Thorne, who had been summoned to the bridge during the exchange, stepped forward. A tall, thin being with translucent skin that revealed his 3 hearts beating in sync. He was the Concordat's most experienced diplomat. Captain Reynolds, I am Ambassador Thorne. Perhaps we should arrange a proper meeting to discuss these matters in a more formal setting. Reynolds nodded. Agreed. We'll send a diplomatic team to your vessel in 6 hours. The screen went dark before Voss could respond. How dare they dictate terms to the Concordat? Voss growled, his secondary arms twitching with anger. Ambassador Thorne raised a calming hand. Admiral, if these humans have the technology we've just witnessed, then diplomacy is our wisest course. I suggest we prepare accordingly. 6 hours later, a small shuttle departed from the Defiance and approached the Imperial Dawn. Officer Kell monitored its approach with growing concern. Admiral, this shuttle has no visible propulsion system, yet it's moving with incredible precision. The docking bay crew reported similar anomalies. The human shuttle seemed to ignore standard docking procedures, yet nestled perfectly into the designated space as if guided by unseen hands. When the doors opened, Captain Reynolds emerged with 3 other humans, 2 males and 1 female. They wore simple blue uniforms without rank insignia or decorations. They carried no visible weapons, but walked with confidence through the massive docking bay, seemingly unimpressed by the grandeur of the Concordat's flagship. The diplomatic meeting was set in the Concordat's grand conference room. Ambassador Thorne led the discussion, with Admiral Voss and Officer Kell in attendance. We welcome you to Concordat Space, Thorne began formally. Though we must express our surprise at your sudden appearance and apparent technological advancement. Reynolds nodded. We understand. Humanity has a history of being underestimated. It's served us well over the centuries. And what exactly are your intentions in Concordat Space? Voss asked directly. As I said before, we're expanding. We've already established colonies in 12 systems along your outer territories. We're here to formalize our presence and establish trade relations. Voss nearly stood up in shock. 12 systems. That's impossible. Our patrols would have detected. Your patrols saw exactly what we wanted them to see, Admiral, the female human said calmly. We've been monitoring your technology for decades. Avoiding detection was simple. The meeting continued for hours, with the humans revealing just enough information to confirm their claims without exposing their technical secrets. They spoke of mining operations, terraforming projects, and transport networks that had supposedly been operating under the Concordat's nose for years. As the humans prepared to leave, Reynolds turned to Admiral Voss with a small smile. We look forward to peaceful relations. Admiral, humanity has no interest in conflict. We simply wish to take our place among the stars. After the humans departed, the Concordat leadership remained in stunned silence. Could they be bluffing? Voss finally asked. Officer Kell shook her head. Their ship's capabilities are real. And if they've truly been hiding from us all this time, then everything we thought we knew about the balance of power in the galaxy has changed, Ambassador Thorne finished quietly. As the Defiance departed Concordat Space the next day, its engines leaving no energy trail to follow, Admiral Voss gazed at the stars with new eyes. For the first time in his long career, he felt something he had never experienced before. Fear of the unknown. The Galactic Concordat had just met its match, and they weren't ready for what would come next. 2 weeks after the Defiance had departed, the Concordat's High Council chamber was in chaos. Representatives from all 15 member species argued loudly, their voices echoing off the grand marble walls. 12 colonies? Impossible, shouted Councillor Brack, his thick tail slamming against the floor. The humans are primitive apes who barely left their planet. Admiral Voss stood silently as the debate raged. He had called this emergency meeting after receiving troubling reports from across Concordat space. His forearms were clasped behind his back, a pose that hid his growing concern. Order, called High Chancellor Orion, his crystalline form glittering under the chamber lights. Admiral Voss, continue your report. Voss activated the central hologram. A star map appeared, showing the vast territory of the Concordat. 12 red dots blinked on the outer edges. These are the locations where human activity has been confirmed, Voss said. Patrol ships report unusual structures that appeared seemingly overnight. When approached, human representatives politely informed our captains that these were established settlements and provided documentation claiming these systems were unclaimed. And were they unclaimed? Asked Chancellor Orion. Intelligence Officer Kell stepped forward. Technically, yes. These are systems the Concordat surveyed, but never formally colonized. The humans found the legal loophole. More shouting erupted from the council. Admiral Voss waited for it to subside before continuing. There's more. We've received reports of human vessels throughout the Rim territories. They appear to be conducting mining operations, establishing trade routes, and, he paused, making contact with non-Concordat species. This news silenced even the angriest counselors. The Concordat had maintained exclusive contact rights with all newly discovered species for centuries. It was how they preserved their authority. How many ships do they have? Chancellor Orion asked quietly. Unknown, replied Kell. Our estimates range from dozens to hundreds. Hundreds. Councillor Brack laughed nervously. From a species that 50 years ago couldn't leave their own atmosphere. Absurd. Across the Concordat, stories of human ships spread quickly. At the Rigel spaceport, engineer Mira worked tirelessly in her laboratory. Before her lay pieces of debris recovered from what appeared to be a human mining vessel. The ship had suffered a minor collision with an asteroid, leaving behind fragments for her team to recover. Mira's 4 eyes blinked in sequence as she examined the metal under a molecular scanner. Her slender fingers adjusted the controls with practiced precision. This makes no sense, she muttered to herself. Her assistant, Treb, looked up from his workstation. What is it? This metal alloy. It's unlike anything in our database. Lightweight but stronger than our best battleship armor. And look at this circuitry pattern. She pointed to microscopic lines running through the metal. It's almost like the ship's hull was one giant computer. Could it be stolen technology? Treb suggested. Perhaps they raided some ancient civilization's ruins. Mira shook her head. No, this is new, and the design philosophy is entirely alien to our own. She laughed at her own joke. I mean, it's different from any known approach. It's like they started from completely different scientific principles. Meanwhile, on the border world Proxima B, a minor incident was unfolding. A Concordat patrol had intercepted a small human vessel that appeared to be a courier ship. The patrol captain, eager to assert authority, had demanded the human ship submit to inspection. The human captain had politely declined. What happened next would soon become the subject of rumors throughout the Concordat. The patrol ship, a standard Enforcer-class cruiser with a crew of 50, had attempted to use its tractor beam to capture the human vessel. The beam, powerful enough to hold ships 10 times larger, had simply failed to engage. The human ship, named Swift Messenger, had then performed a series of maneuvers that defied the known laws of physics. It moved in ways that should have turned any organic crew into paste from the G-forces alone. Before the stunned Concordat crew could respond, the human ship fired a single shot. Just one. that precisely disabled the patrol ship's engines. The human captain had then opened communications again, apologized for the misunderstanding, and offered to call for Concordat assistance before departing. Back in the council chamber, Admiral Voss finished his report with this incident. "So they've now attacked our ships," growled Councillor Brack. "Technically, they defended themselves against our aggression," Ambassador Thorne corrected, speaking for the first time. "And they showed remarkable restraint. They could have destroyed the patrol ship but chose to disable it with minimal damage." "Are you defending these humans?" Brack demanded. "I am trying to understand them," Thorne replied calmly. "A species capable of hiding their technology from us for decades, who can build ships that outclass our own, and yet who seek diplomatic relations rather than conquest. They are not what we expected." Chancellor Orion's crystalline form pulsed with light as he considered the situation. "What do we know about their home world, this Earth?" Kell activated a new hologram showing a blue-green planet. "Earth is what we categorize as a death world, Chancellor. High gravity, extreme temperature variations, intense radiation from their star, violent weather patterns, and thousands of naturally occurring toxins and predators. The humans evolved to survive in conditions that would kill most Concordat species within hours. Which explains their physiology," Mira added, joining the conversation via hologram from her lab. "I've been studying the recovered debris from their ships. Based on the control interfaces, humans can withstand forces that would be lethal to us. Their neural responses must be significantly faster as well." The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. "What do they want?" Chancellor Orion finally asked. "Truly want?" Admiral Voss stepped forward. "Based on all evidence, they want recognition, territory, resources, a seat at the galactic table." "And if we refuse?" asked Brack. Voss's forearms tensed. "Then we risk conflict with a species that has repeatedly demonstrated superior technology and has been preparing for this moment for decades." "Surely our numbers would prevail," Brack insisted. "The Concordat fleet has thousands of warships." Mira's hologram flickered as she shook her head. "Counselor, based on my analysis, a single human vessel could potentially neutralize a Concordat battle group. Their technology isn't just advanced. It's fundamentally different." Chancellor Orion rose from his seat, his crystalline body catching the light. "We need more information before making any decisions. Admiral Voss, assemble a task force to investigate these human colonies. Ambassador Thorne, prepare for another diplomatic meeting. And Engineer Mira, continue studying their technology." She nodded. "Already doing so, Chancellor." As the council dispersed, Admiral Voss approached Ambassador Thorne in the hallway. "They've been watching us for decades," Voss said quietly. "Learning our weaknesses, our patrol routes, our diplomatic protocols, all while we thought they were still figuring out basic space travel." "Yes," Thorne agreed, "which means they've been patient, cautious. These are not the actions of conquerors, Admiral." "Perhaps not," Voss conceded, "but they are the actions of a species preparing for war." As night fell across the Concordat worlds, rumors spread from spaceport to spaceport. Stories of human ships that moved like nothing ever seen before, tales of colonies appearing overnight, and whispers of a power that had silently grown in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to emerge. The galaxy was changing, and the Concordat was no longer sure of its place in it. Admiral Voss stood on the command deck of the Imperial Dawn, his face grim as he watched the massive fleet assemble before him. 50 warships, the pride of the Concordat's 7th Fleet, formed a perfect battle formation in the black void of space. Each ship bristled with energy weapons and was protected by the most advanced shields in the galaxy. "All ships report ready, Admiral," said his first officer. Voss nodded. After weeks of debate, the Concordat War Council had finally authorized this show of force. They would travel to Proxima b, the closest human colony, and demonstrate the true might of the galactic Concordat. Not to start a war, the Chancellor had insisted, but to re-establish the proper order of things. "Begin jump sequence," Voss ordered. The massive fleet disappeared into hyperspace, their engines leaving blue trails across the stars. On Proxima b, the human settlement was surprisingly modest. A collection of simple structures spread across the rocky terrain, with no obvious defenses or military installations. Scans showed fewer than 5,000 humans on the surface. "Send the message," Voss commanded as the fleet took position around the planet. The communication officer transmitted the carefully prepared statement, demanding that the humans acknowledge Concordat authority, accept restricted status, and limit their expansion. For long minutes, there was no response. Then, a single message came through. "We understand your concerns. One representative will be sent to discuss terms." Voss laughed. "One representative? Do they not see 50 warships surrounding their colony?" That's when the sensors detected a new ship entering the system. It emerged from nowhere, without using any known form of faster-than-light travel. One moment empty space, the next a vessel was there. "Report," Voss barked. "Sir, it's a human warship," the sensor officer replied, his voice shaking. "Classification unknown. Size, approximately 1/3 of our flagship." The view screen showed a dark, angular vessel moving toward them. Unlike the sleek Defiance they had encountered before, this ship was clearly built for combat. Its hull was matte black, absorbing light rather than reflecting it. No visible weapons could be seen, but something about its shape suggested deadly purpose. "They send one ship against 50, Voss said incredulously. "This is either madness or an insult." A communication request came through. Voss nodded, and the screen filled with the image of a stern-faced human woman with short white hair. "This is Captain Walker of the Earth warship Thunderchild," she said calmly. "I understand you wish to negotiate." Voss drew himself up to his full height. "This is not a negotiation. The Concordat demands your immediate compliance with our terms." Captain Walker's expression didn't change. "Admiral, I've been authorized to inform you that humanity cannot accept those terms. We suggest you reconsider your position." "You are one ship against 50, Voss exclaimed. "Look around you." "Numbers aren't everything, Admiral," Walker replied. "We prefer to resolve this peacefully, but we will defend our colony if necessary." Voss cut the communication. "Target their ship. Full weapons barrage on my mark." In the science lab of the Imperial Dawn, Engineer Mira watched the confrontation with growing alarm. She had been brought aboard to analyze human technology during the mission. Now she studied the readings from the Thunderchild with disbelief. "This can't be right," she muttered. The ship's energy signature was unlike anything she had ever seen. It wasn't using standard reactors or even antimatter power. Something else, something her instruments couldn't even properly measure, was powering that vessel. "Admiral," she called over the comm, "I strongly advise caution. This ship is—" "Fire," Voss ordered, cutting her off. 50 Concordat warships unleashed their full firepower on the lone human vessel. Energy beams, plasma torpedoes, and graviton missiles streaked across space in a beautiful and terrifying display of destructive force. Not a single shot hit. The Thunderchild moved with impossible speed, shifting position faster than the weapons could track. It wasn't just evading. It seemed to be predicting where each shot would go before it was fired. "Impossible," Voss whispered. Then the human ship attacked. It didn't use energy weapons or exotic technology. Instead, simple projectiles, physical chunks of metal, were accelerated to near-light speed and launched at the Concordat fleet. The first volley struck 3 ships before their shields could even register the attack. The vessels simply disappeared in brilliant explosions. "Kinetic weapons," gasped the first officer. "They're using primitive kinetic weapons." Mira's voice came over the comm again, more urgent now. "Admiral, they're using our shield technology against us. Our shields are calibrated for energy weapons, not physical objects at relativistic speeds." The Thunderchild continued its attack, methodically targeting ship after ship. Some vessels were disabled with surgical precision, engines destroyed, weapons systems shattered. Others were simply obliterated, and still, not a single Concordat shot had found its mark. Evasive maneuvers, Voss ordered, but it was too late. In less than 10 minutes, half of the 7th Fleet was either destroyed or disabled. The remaining ships broke formation, panic spreading through their crews. And then, as suddenly as it had begun, the attack stopped. The Thunderchild hovered motionless among the debris of destroyed ships. Captain Walker's face appeared on the view screen again. "Admiral Voss, this demonstration is complete. We have disabled 25 of your vessels and could easily destroy the rest. Instead, we will withdraw and give you time to reconsider your position. Humanity does not want war, but we will not surrender our independence." The screen went dark, and the human warship simply vanished. No engine flare, no jump to hyperspace. It was there one moment, and gone the next. Admiral Voss stared at the wreckage of his once proud fleet, his 4 arms hanging limply at his sides. "How?" he whispered. "How is this possible?" Engineer Mira appeared on the bridge, her face ashen. "Admiral, I've analyzed their attack pattern. They weren't just firing randomly. Each shot was precisely calculated to cause exactly as much damage as they wanted. No more, no less. They were toying with us," Voss realized. "No," Mira corrected. "They were sending a message. They could have destroyed us all, but they chose not to." Back in the Concordat capital, news of the disaster spread quickly. Emergency sessions of the High Council were called as reports came in from the surviving ships. Chancellor Orion's crystalline form pulsed with dim light as he addressed the stunned counselors. "It appears we have greatly underestimated the humans." Ambassador Thorne stepped forward. "Chancellor, I've received a message from the human government. They say they are still open to diplomatic relations and have submitted a revised proposal for mutual recognition." "Recognition," Counselor Brack sputtered. "They've destroyed half a fleet." "After we threatened their colony," Thorne pointed out, "and they could have destroyed all 50 ships but chose restraint." As the debate raged in the council chamber, ordinary citizens throughout the Concordat heard rumors of the battle. The impossible defeat of 50 ships by a single human vessel became the subject of fearful whispers and wild speculation. In his private quarters, Admiral Voss reviewed the battle footage again and again, searching for some explanation, some weakness he could exploit. But deep in his heart, he knew the truth. The Concordat had awakened something far more dangerous than they had ever imagined. The balance of power had not just shifted, it had shattered completely. "Infiltration successful," Agent Locks whispered into his communicator. The small Concordat spy had altered his appearance to look like a maintenance worker in the human colony on Proxima B. For 3 weeks, he had gathered intelligence on these mysterious beings who had so thoroughly humiliated the mighty Concordat fleet. Hidden in the maintenance tunnels beneath the colony's main square, Locks carefully placed listening devices and took samples of materials. His small size, barely reaching the knee height of an average human, made it easy to hide in spaces the larger species wouldn't notice. "Send the data package immediately," came the encrypted reply from his handler. Locks connected his collection device to the transmitter. In seconds, everything he had learned would be sent to Intelligence Officer Kell back at Concordat headquarters. In her secure lab, Kell watched the data stream in. Her blue skin seemed to pale as she processed what she was seeing. "This cannot be right," she muttered, checking the readings again. The door to her lab slid open, and Engineer Mira entered. Since the disaster at Proxima B, the two had been working closely together, trying to understand human technology and capabilities. "You need to see this," Kell said without looking up. "Our spy on Proxima B just sent his report." Mira's 4 eyes widened as she reviewed the data. "So it's true. Earth is a death world." The screen showed environmental readings from the human colony. The gravity was 1.3 times Concordat standard, enough to crush most species over time. The radiation levels from their sun would cause cancer in most concordat species within weeks. Even the air contained oxygen levels that would be toxic to many aliens. And look at this, Kell continued, bringing up a new screen showing medical data. Human bone density is 4 times greater than our strongest warriors. Their muscles can generate twice the force. Their nervous system processes information up to 3 times faster than ours in crisis situations. Evolution on a death world. Mira nodded. It explains so much. Their ships aren't designed to protect them from space. They are designed by beings who already evolved to survive in hostile conditions. There's more, Kell said, her voice dropping. Locke witnessed their training exercises. Humans regularly endure simulated conditions that would kill most species. They call it preparing for the worst. Mira leaned back, considering the implications. So their entire species has been shaped by survival against all odds. No wonder they approach technology and warfare differently. And history, Kell added, bringing up another screen showing historical records Locke had stolen. Their planet has been constantly at war with itself. Thousands of years of conflict. Tribe against tribe, nation against nation. They've been perfecting the art of warfare since before they discovered fire. Meanwhile, in the Concordat High Council chamber, the debate had turned ugly. Councillor Brack pounded his fist on the table. We cannot allow this humiliation to stand. We must gather our forces and crush these humans. Chancellor Orion's crystalline form dimmed slightly, showing his weariness. And lose more ships, more lives. The Thunderchill destroyed half our fleet without taking a single hit. Perhaps it was their only such vessel, Brack insisted. A prototype or... Unlikely, interrupted Admiral Voss, who had been uncharacteristically quiet since his defeat. Intelligence suggests they have at least a dozen warships of similar design, possibly more hidden throughout their territory. Ambassador Thorne, who had been reviewing diplomatic options, spoke up. The humans have sent another communication. They wish to send a representative to discuss terms. Terms? Brack sneered. They seek to dictate terms to the Concordat. I believe they seek to avoid unnecessary bloodshed, Thorne replied calmly. Chancellor Orion's form brightened slightly. We will hear them. Prepare the diplomatic chamber. 2 days later, a small human shuttle arrived at the Concordat capital. Unlike the previous diplomatic meeting, this one was not aboard a warship, but in the Grand Central Hall of the Concordat government. The message was clear. The humans were being treated as equals, not subjects. The human diplomat was a tall man named Jackson. He walked confidently into the hall, seemingly unbothered by the different gravity or atmosphere. He carried a simple data pad and wore what appeared to be a standard business suit rather than a formal diplomatic uniform. Thank you for agreeing to meet, Jackson began without the usual ceremonial greetings. I'll be direct. Humanity wants peace with the Concordat, but we will not compromise our independence or our right to expand into unclaimed systems. Chancellor Orion leaned forward. Your demonstration at Proxima B was most effective, Mr. Jackson. But it raises many questions about your species and your intentions. Jackson nodded. I understand. You're wondering why a species with our technology pretended to be primitive for so long. The answer is simple. We were watching and learning. Our history has taught us caution when meeting new civilizations. You feared us, Admiral Voss said, his voice tinged with bitterness. Not feared, Jackson corrected. Respected. The Concordat has ruled this sector for 1,000 years. We needed to understand if you would be friends or enemies. And what did you conclude? Asked Thorne. Jackson's expression remained neutral. We haven't decided yet. That's why I'm here. He activated his data pad, and a holographic map of the galaxy appeared between them. Various regions were highlighted in different colors. Our proposal is simple, Jackson continued. These blue regions are systems we've already colonized. We claim them as human territory. The green regions are areas where we propose shared development and cooperative research. The yellow areas remain exclusively Concordat territory. The council members studied the map with shock. The blue regions, claimed human territory, included over 40 star systems, far more than the 12 they had admitted to previously. "This is outrageous," Brack exclaimed. "You claim territories the Concordat has surveyed, but not settled or developed," Jackson pointed out. "Under galactic common law, which the Concordat itself established 300 years ago, unclaimed systems are open to settlement by any spacefaring species. You've been studying our laws as well," Chancellor Orion observed. "Of course," Jackson replied simply. "We've been studying everything about you." As the negotiations continued, intelligence from Agent Locks kept flowing to Kell and Mira. The two officers worked tirelessly to piece together a complete picture of humanity. "They've been deliberately hiding their true technological capabilities," Mira said, examining the latest data. "Even their colony on Proxima B is a facade. Underneath the simple structures are advanced facilities and technologies far beyond what they've shown publicly." Kell nodded. "Psychological warfare. They want us to wonder what else they're hiding." "The question is," Mira said slowly, "just how advanced are they really? And what do they truly want?" Back in the council chamber, the negotiations had reached an impasse. The terms Jackson proposed would fundamentally alter the balance of power in the galaxy, elevating humanity to equal status with the 1,000-year-old Concordat. As the session ended for the day, Admiral Voss approached Jackson privately. "Your proposal will be rejected," Voss said bluntly. "The Council will never agree to such terms." Jackson didn't seem surprised. "That would be unfortunate." "Is that a threat?" Voss asked, his forehands tensing. "No, Admiral. An observation. Humanity doesn't want conflict, but we've prepared for it. Have you?" As Jackson walked away, Voss made a decision. The humans had to be stopped before they grew any stronger. If diplomacy wouldn't work, then perhaps a decisive military strike would. Not against a colony this time, but against Earth itself, the heart of human power. What Voss didn't know was that humanity was already preparing for that exact scenario. The game of shadows and steel had only just begun. The largest fleet ever assembled in Concordat history moved silently through hyperspace. 200 warships, including every available capital ship and battlecruiser, formed the spearhead of what Admiral Voss had named Operation Final Authority. Their destination, Earth, the human homeworld. On the bridge of the newly commissioned super-dreadnought Concordat's Might, Admiral Voss stood watching the swirling colors of hyperspace. The ship was 3 times larger than any vessel previously built, armed with planet-killer weapons, and protected by experimental shield technology developed by engineer Mira based on what they had learned from the Thunderchild encounter. "Time to arrival?" Voss asked. 4 hours, Admiral, his first officer replied. Voss nodded. He had convinced the Council that a decisive strike was necessary, not to destroy humanity, but to demonstrate that the Concordat would not be dictated to by upstarts. They would target Earth's orbital defenses and military installations, forcing the humans to accept their proper place in the galactic hierarchy. Unknown to the Council, Voss had given secret orders. If resistance was significant, Earth itself would be targeted. The human threat would be eliminated once and for all. In her private lab aboard the Concordat's Might, engineer Mira worked frantically on her calculations. Something didn't add up about the human technology they had encountered. "You should be resting before the battle," Intelligence Officer Kell said, entering the lab with data files. "How can I rest when none of this makes sense?" Mira replied, not looking up from her displays. "The humans have been hiding their technology, yes, but there's something else. Something we're missing." Kell placed a data crystal on Mira's desk. This just came in from Agent Locks. He managed to access deeper files in the Proxima B colony's database. Mira's 4 eyes widened as she reviewed the new information. This changes everything. We need to speak to the Admiral immediately." But Admiral Voss had given strict orders not to be disturbed. The attack would proceed as planned. As the Concordat fleet neared the Sol system, sensors detected no unusual activity. No massive fleet waiting to meet them. No super weapons charging. Just a single orbital ring around Earth and what appeared to be standard defensive platforms. "This makes no sense," Voss muttered. "Where are their warships? Where is the Thunderchild?" A communication request came through. From Earth. Voss hesitated, then nodded. "Put it through." The main screen showed a familiar face. Captain Reynolds of the Defiance, the first human ship they had encountered. "Admiral Voss," Reynolds said calmly. "I see you've brought guests. 200 ships is quite the diplomatic delegation." "This is not a diplomatic mission," Voss replied coldly. "The Concordat has decided that humanity must be shown its proper place in the galactic order." Reynolds sighed. "We tried to be reasonable, Admiral. We really did." The screen went dark. "Weapons range in 30 seconds, reported the tactical officer. "All ships, prepare tow," Voss began, but stopped as alarms blared across the bridge. "Admiral," the sensor officer called out. "The orbital platforms around Earth. They're activating." "Target them first," Voss ordered. "Sir, they're not weapons platforms." I don't know what they are." The seemingly simple structures around Earth began to glow with soft blue light. The glow expanded outward, forming a complex pattern that spread throughout the space between Earth and the approaching fleet. "What is that?" Voss demanded. Mira and Kell burst onto the bridge, out of breath. "Admiral, you need to stop the attack," Mira shouted. "The humans. They've mastered gravity manipulation technology." "What?" Voss turned to her. "Those aren't defensive platforms," Kell explained quickly. "They're gravity projectors." Agent Locks found references to something called Project Singularity in their database. Before Voss could respond, space itself seemed to distort around the fleet. Ships at the front of the formation suddenly lurched sideways, pulled by invisible forces. Warning alarms blared across all vessels as localized gravity wells formed and collapsed unpredictably. "Evasive maneuvers," Voss ordered, but it was too late. The carefully organized fleet formation disintegrated into chaos. Ships collided with each other as they tried to escape the invisible gravity traps. Others found their hulls compressed by sudden increases in gravitational force, crumpling like paper toys. Voss watched in horror as a battlecruiser was torn apart, not by weapons fire, but by opposing gravity fields pulling it in different directions simultaneously. "They're not even firing at us," he realized aloud. "They're just changing the laws of physics around us." As the fleet struggled against the invisible enemy, a new signal appeared on sensors. "Sir, a ship is approaching." It's the Defiance." The screen showed the familiar vessel moving leisurely through the chaos, completely unaffected by the gravity distortions that were tearing apart the Concordat fleet. Reynolds appeared on screen again. "Admiral Voss, this demonstration is over. 80% of your fleet is either destroyed or disabled. The remainder cannot escape without our help. Do you wish to continue this attack?" Voss stared at the devastating scene around him. The mighty Concordat fleet, defeated without a single shot fired. "How?" he whispered. "The Defiance was never a diplomatic vessel, Admiral," Reynolds explained. "It was our first-generation prototype for gravity manipulation technology. Everything you've seen. Our faster-than-light travel, our defensive capabilities, our weapons. They're all applications of the same technology. We control gravity itself." Mira stepped forward. "That's why their ships moved so strangely. Why our weapons couldn't hit them. They were altering the space around them." Reynolds nodded. "Precisely. Now shall we discuss terms of surrender?" 3 days later, in the Grand Central Hall of the Concordat capital, the Treaty of Earth was signed. Humanity was recognized as an equal power to the Concordat. Shared territories would be jointly administered. Technology exchange programs would begin immediately, with humans sharing carefully selected innovations. Chancellor Orion, Admiral Voss, and other Concordat leaders stood alongside Captain Reynolds and human representatives as the galaxy watched. "This is not the end of the Concordat," Chancellor Orion declared to his worried citizens. "It is the beginning of a new era, one of cooperation rather than domination." Later, in a private meeting room, Reynolds approached Mira and Kell. "Your analysis of our technology was impressive," he said. "Few species grasped the fundamentals so quickly." "We had good motivation," Mira replied dryly. "Fear is an excellent teacher." Reynolds laughed. "Indeed, that's why we've selected both of you for the first exchange program. You'll be the first Concordat citizens invited to study on Earth." "Why us?" Kell asked suspiciously. "Because you saw what others couldn't," Reynolds explained. "You looked beyond your assumptions. That's the kind of thinking we value." As Reynolds left, Admiral Voss entered the room, his posture showing his defeat. "You two are going to Earth?" he asked. Mira nodded. "Someone needs to understand them better than we did before." Voss was quiet for a moment. "Ask them something for me. Ask them why they waited so long to reveal themselves. They could have conquered us years ago." "I suspect I know the answer," Kell said. "They weren't ready." "Not technologically," Mira added, "but ethically. They were waiting until they could trust themselves with their own power." Across the galaxy, news spread of the new alliance between humans and the Concordat. Some celebrated, others worried, but all knew that everything had changed. The old order was gone. A new age had begun, shaped by a species that had emerged from their death world with the power to bend space itself, yet chose cooperation over conquest. And in orbit around Earth, the Defiance continued its patrol, a reminder that behind humanity's extended hand of friendship lay power beyond imagination. Power they had barely begun to reveal.